So a little while back, I asked the audience 3 questions, and one of those questions was, who is their favorite science fiction character? Now, because of most of the videos which I've made here on YouTube, I know that much of my audience is of the atheist, non-believer, skeptical persuasion. And part of the reason that I asked that question is that I've noticed that it's something of a common denominator amongst, such types of people, myself included, to be some degree of anywhere from casual science fiction fans to rabid science fiction fans. I would be lying if I didn't say that I had something of an obsession with the science fiction genre. And when I went to the atheist YouTube gathering in Columbus, it's been a couple of years ago now, but I had my Doctor Who shirt on, and I can't remember her name, but one of the people that was there said to me, "Don't you think the Doctor is sort of like atheist Jesus?" And I've been reading on Tumblr with some interest the amazing atheist's thoughts about Doctor Who and his astonishment to discover that Captain Jack Harkness was the central character of Torchwood, and how, that kind of character, a pansexual, crazy character, brilliant character like Jack, was something you would just never see in American television, and the cultural difference therein. And today in the mail, I got a book called Science Fiction History, Science Vision, and I started reading it, and it compelled me to sort of want to read the first maybe page of this book. It's from 1977, but let me just read it, and I think it'll become clear why I'm reading it as I go. So this, from the first chapter, The Beginnings. The history of science fiction is also the history of humanity's changing attitudes towards space and time. It is the history of our growing understanding of the universe and the position of our species in that universe. Like the history of science itself, the history of this literary form is thin and episodic until about 4 centuries ago, when the scientific method began to replace more authoritarian and dogmatic modes of thought, and people at last could see that the Earth was not the center of the universe, with the sun, moon, and stars all spinning around it for the edification of mankind. Once upon a time, human beings felt the world to be alive with spiritual presence. Divinities inhabited every bush and waterfall. People learned to fear and worship especially those gods who seem behind the most awesome of natural phenomenon, tempests, earthquakes, and the fertility of plants and animals. Our primitive ancestors knew a world that was timeless in one sense and tightly bound up in time in another. It was a world without history, with no sense of historical change that might lead to situations different from those people already knew. And it was also a world bound to a sense of a seasonal flow of time, planting and harvesting, sweating and shivering, thanking the gods for blessing and begging them to end punishments. The seasons required human rituals which were held to contribute to the great temporal cycle, without which humanity would surely perish. The rituals enacted episodes from the lives of those gods, explaining the creation of the world and preserving in the memory of humanity the values which the gods were believed to approve. These memories and values, when separated from the ritual enactment, we call myths. They are supernatural stories that preserve tribal values and explain a world that is assured to continue unchanged until some point when the gods tire of it or lose their power to preserve it. So I take it that my audience is pretty intelligent and that they can probably get what I'm going for here. And what that is that this narrative that I just read from this book sounds very much like what you would hear from many YouTube atheists or skeptic, agnostic, non-believer, this sort of worldview of religion and myth versus science and the emergence of science. And so I want to ask the skeptics in the audience their attitudes towards science fiction. How has science fiction impacted your life and shaped your worldview? Because certainly, I mean, if people ask me about, philosophy and what made you want to major in philosophy, this, that, and the other thing, I'd be lying if a part of me didn't really want to say Star Trek. I'd be lying if I didn't say that, the Scully character in the X-Files has much more to do with my own point of view than the Mulder point of view. I mean, it can simplify it to that. And I've said this in videos in the past, tangentially, but I want to know from other people, how sci-fi has impacted their life, and hopefully get some good video responses from that. Finally, in the description box of this video, I'm going to post a link to a video of the actor who played the cigarette smoking man in the X-Files talking about his atheism and skepticism. It's a bit of a longer video, but it's definitely worth checking out.